Well, hey, friend, and welcome to episode 98 of Feathers Podcast. This is our special summer season to celebrate 100 episodes. So we are, like I said, on episode 98, and today we are doing a special episode. Today I have a special guest. We are doing some Q&A, and so I'm not, questioning myself and answering myself. I have got my husband, Scott Bennett, on. Say hey, Scott.
Hey.
So Scott's been wanting to be on the podcast. We haven't really figured out a way to do that yet. And so I'm really excited to be able to celebrate and have him here.
Here I am.
Okay. So I told somebody that I was having Scott on the other day, and they were like, oh no, like Scott's like a loose cannon. So Scott's the fun part of our relationship. He's a Enneagram 8. He has a strong wing 7, which means they like to have fun a lot. And so he's the fun part of our relationship. And so we'll see what comes out of his mouth. It's nice to have a nice big edit button. All right. So Scott is going to ask me the questions. I'm actually going to start us off because the very first question that we got and by the way, we took questions from Instagram and Facebook and email. So we're going to just answer your questions today. The very first one somebody asked is, who would you like... have you ever thought about doing a podcast episode with your hubby or your kids? So I had to kind of laugh because I already had plans to have Scott on the episode. So he's here.
I'm here.
Okay, well, we're going to let you say something else without a hey and I'm here. Why don't you start us off, Scott? I'll ask you a question. What do you think about me having a podcast?
I love it. I like that you spending time in this ministry and trying to encourage other women. I really enjoy that you do it.
Well, thanks. You're such a good support, making everybody be quiet in the house while I'm trying to record.
I'm the enforcer.
Enforcer, yeah. So for people that don't know, Scott's a highway patrolman, so he does a lot of the enforcement around here. All right, Scott, fire off with some of the questions. Number 1,
how do you get your guest?
All right, so there's a lot of different ways I get the guests. When I first started the podcast, I had been a blogger. I've been a blogger since 2002, and so since then, I've just had a network of people. I read their blog, I've read their books, just friends that I had met at conferences, and so the first season especially were people who I was just friends with or that I really looked up to as bloggers and wanted to talk to them about their story. I just knew their story. But these days, authors, when they put out a book, they have to have like a marketing plan of what they're going to do. And part of that these days is what podcast they're going to go on. So I have gotten on a lot of marketing people's list of Christian podcasts to come on. And so what happens these days is I get sent a lot of books to review, which is super fun because I was reading all these books anyway, a lot of nonfiction Christian books. And they send me a ton of books. Tell them, Scott, how many books do I get?
It's easier to say how many books she doesn't have. Like every other day a book comes in the mail.
Yeah, which is so super fun because I love mail and I love books. And so getting books in the mail is a lot of fun. So I get to read the books. And actually these days I don't read a whole lot that doesn't have to do with podcasts. So I read the books and they usually have a contact for me for the book. And I just work a lot of times through the marketing people to get the authors on. And so that's really how I get on guests. I still ask people. I really love, and one of the things that I want to do is just get people, and I like to say people that don't have platforms. So, normal people, I'm using that in quotes, normal people, getting them and their stories out there. So maybe, I know a lot of people that are living a great life of faith, but don't necessarily have a blog or, book or anything. So I know a lot of people listening enjoy hearing those people, and I do too. So I'm hoping to have more people like that on. All right.
You ready?
Yep.
Number 2, who would you like to have on the podcast?
Okay, so dream people for my podcast. A couple of them, Christine Kane, Beth Moore, and Lisa Turkhurst are like my top 3 right now. I just would love to talk to. And let me tell you a secret. I've asked Beth and I've asked Lisa, and they've said no so far. So for Lisa, it just wasn't the time. So she was, she promotes some podcasts when she's releasing a book. And when I had asked, it wasn't that time. And, I had asked Beth Moore about the time that she put her novel out, and they had already booked her up with all of that. And I think at the time she had done like Jamie Ives' Happy Hour podcast, and I didn't get in on that. So maybe one day we'll work it out. Oh, and Jenny Allen. I would love to have Jenny Allen on too. I think I can make that happen. I just haven't asked her yet.
What about your husband?
Yes, honey. We can talk. Well, they've already heard all of our good stories. So.
Okay. Number 3. Have you ever thought about having a repeat guest on your show?
Yes. So there's several women that I think I stay connected to all the women that I've had on the podcast mostly. And there's a lot of women that have gone on and, we listen to part of their story on the podcast, but they've gone on and different things are happening in their lives. So I would love to do, kind of like a Where Are They Now episode, or like just have them back on as a guest. I think about Elizabeth Maxon. She just started I think it's a publishing company. I hope I'm saying that the right thing, Back Porch. And so they're going to be working with authors to publish their books. And so that would be fun to hear how that all came about. And I know Kathy Schwanke, she was one of the first guests that we had. A lot of stuff has happened in the last 2 years. They've moved and different stuff with their jobs. And so they've had updates. And Lizzie Branch that we had on, I guess in the spring 2 years ago. And, she had talked about opening a art studio and she's since closed the studio. So there's like a lot of people that, I've talked to that have updates that I would love to talk to again, but it just seems like there's so many new stuff, kind of new guests to share. I just haven't been able to circle back yet.
Number 4, what was your favorite moment or day of the podcast?
So I could talk about pretty much every episode and just talk about why I love that episode. And I might do that maybe at our live event coming up on July 15th or in a different kind of way on another episode. But if I had to just pick one favorite happiest moment is actually Hannah Callio. She was on first season. I don't know if you remember her, but her and her family had like packed up and sold like 90% of the stuff, and they ended up going to Italy and ended up in Israel and moved so many times in a couple months, and was just kind of following God. And Hannah and I actually stayed connected after that. We actually were on regular phone calls, and she did kind of some coaching with me. And when we had our year anniversary last, I guess March, her and her family sang happy birthday to the podcast, and they did it. I think it was a Hebrew. They sang in Hebrew, I think it was. And when I heard them sing that, I bawled tears of joy, and it was just such a big celebration. And it just, I don't know, it moved me. Like I just cried and laughed, and I don't know, it was just one of the happiest moments from the podcast so far.
Number 5, what was your hardest podcast?
The hardest moment kind of the podcast so far has been, I'm super disappointed when so many times I've recorded and we've actually lost the episode, and that's been super hard. So it just, for whatever reason, technology totally failed. And I had to email the people and say, I'm sorry, it has failed. It's happened at least 3 times. I know Amanda White and us, we had to re-record. And then Kelly Bellari, she actually, you guys never heard her podcast because we lost it and we've never been able to connect again. So I totally lost Kelly's episode. And then the worst one was this spring, and I'm trying to get her back on, Deb Lindell, and she is the wife of the pastor of James River Church, and she's doing the women's ministry down there, and she has a conference that I actually am going to this fall that have like 10,000 people that attend that. And we had a conversation, and it was just like, amazing. She was just amazing to talk to. I felt like we really connected, and I got done, and both of us just were like so pleased with how it turned out and was so excited. And then I went to go edit it, and it had not recorded, and I was devastated. I think I actually cried over that one. It was really hard to email them and tell them it was lost. So we're still trying to get hooked back up. Hopefully for season 7 there we'll have her back on.
All right. Number 6. Have you ever not aired an episode that you recorded?
Well, I just talked about Kelly's where we talked and it didn't record, but then there was another guest that I had that we recorded, and we just had a hard time going back and forth. For some reason, we just couldn't get, we were fine, but like we just couldn't get the story out the way we wanted it to. And I was going to edit it, and then, we took a couple days, and we both were kind of like, this is just not right. It's just not the right time. And it was kind of one of those things, like neither one of us wanted to say, I don't want it to air, but we kind of skirted around it for a couple emails, and then we both finally agreed, like, yeah, that just didn't go the way we wanted to go and put it out there. So we just have never, we just realized it wasn't the good timing for her and her story, and we haven't recorded, and maybe we'll do that one day, but we just never aired that episode.
Number 7, how do you do it all?
There's a grin on Scott's face. How do I do it all, honey? Do I do it all?
She does a lot.
But not all of it.
We share the load. She doesn't do dishes. I load the dishwasher. The kids unload the dishwasher. Amy doesn't get involved.
I cook. The deal is I cook and they clean. Unless you're working, and then I have to do both of it.
Yes.
I have to do all of it.
But I like the dishwasher loaded a particular way.
Yeah, so the story on that is I kept trying to load the dishwasher, and every time I would do it, he would redo it. Like, so the cups have to be lined up in a certain way, and he would like literally rearrange them on the same row. He just would, like, I don't even know what's your sequence of cups? What has to be in the back and what goes to the front?
I don't know.
You don't even know the method to your madness?
It just, when the moment hits, it hits.
Okay, so I got really tired of having stuff redone, so I just gave it up and said, you guys can have it. But the question for this is, how do you do it all? I don't do it all. Oh, my goodness. So somebody comes and cleans our house every 2 weeks, so I don't clean our house at all. And Scott, who's the best organizer in our house?
That would be me. I'm the organizer, the enforcer, the grass cutter, the dishwash loader.
Yeah, so if you go in our house, it's kind of funny. You can see, like, if you go into our bathroom, you can see which side of the sink is mine, because it's all the mess on my side, and his is totally cleared out. In the closet, you can see which side is mine, because it's got stuff all over the floor, and his is totally clean. He just keeps it organized. So he's the one that's going behind everybody and picking up the glasses and anything and yelling at us.
You can't set a glass down too long; it'll disappear.
Yeah. There's been many times that I've gotten like milk out to, set it on the counter to make a recipe, and like literally 10 seconds later he's putting it away. I'm like, I haven't even used it yet. Like, please, I need the milk. So what's getting to this question, how do I do it all? I don't do it all. I really don't do it all. Our family, Scott helps out a lot around the house. He's really, really great. Our family is also a big bunch of homebodies, right?
Yeah.
We really like to be at home. And so none of our kids are super into sports or activities. Like Lexi did the play this past year, and Jacob has done one sport a season. And so that might take, one night of practice, an hour of practice, and then a game on Saturday. But mostly we spend so much time at home, so that helps like a whole lot. So we're not a super busy family, so that's something else that I like. I just don't do. And also, I don't watch TV.
And I take the kids to school half the time.
Yes, so in the morning he helps with the kids, and so that's been a big change for me, right? Not watching TV.
Oh yeah, we don't have TV.
We do have TV.
Yeah, well, we don't have cable or satellite.
Yeah, but that's a big change for me, right? I mean, I used to watch a lot.
She was a binge watcher. She was a binger.
Yep. I was a binger. So that's freed up a lot of my time when I quit watching TV. I mean, we might watch like an episode or something every once in a while. We're kind of going through Cheers right now on Netflix, but we only watch.
We're showing our age.
Yeah, we only watch, maybe an episode a week, a couple episodes a week, depending on how much time Scott has off. It's kind of one of the things that him and I do at night. So the other thing I want to talk about is I don't do it all, but the things that I do are the things that are really important to me. I do work full time, and the thing that helps me with that is I work from home. And so I'm not commuting back and forth, and I am home, so at lunchtime, I totally take, the hour and do it, get ready for dinner, or I record a podcast, or do errands or whatever. So the podcast actually, usually, at least once a week, I'm recording a podcast during my lunch hour. So that's a big thing. And then the other thing that's really helped, and this has just been over time, is that I've kind of found a rhythm to the things at home. Like I only grocery shop on Saturdays now. It used to be that I would run to the grocery store to figure out something to, fix last minute every single night, and I hated it. So now I've gotten to where I grocery shop once a week and usually do laundry once a week, and I don't know, I found rhythms that have helped me be more efficient, and so I don't do it all. I have a lot of help and just a couple priorities. Like the thing is I'm really concentrating on my work, my family, and the podcast / ministry. So it's just a matter of paring down. I've just done a lot of paring down over the years to try to get there.
Number 8. How many hours of sleep do you get?
Okay. I minimum have to have 8 hours.
Sometimes 9.
Yeah. Sleep is one of those things that I think helps me actually get more done, because I am super crabby and tired when I don't at least get 8 hours of sleep. And so I am asleep usually by 10 and don't wake up before 6 or 6:30. So I'm at least getting 8. I do best at 9 hours, but I at least try to get 8 hours. And I think that just helps me. It helps me during the day stay alert and awake. And
it helps us all when she gets enough sleep.
Oh, that's funny. So I'm kind of grumpy in the morning, right?
I wouldn't say grumpy. You're just not a morning person.
I get up pretty good in the morning, though. I'm not a night person.
No, but you're not grumpy.
Yeah, I'm just out of it.
Slow.
I gotta have my caffeine, my spark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 9. What does your daily quiet time with God look like, and when does it fit in best to your schedule?
So that's one of the things about, it kind of relates to the sleep thing, is that one of the things that's really a priority to me is getting my quiet time every day. And that's not always been the case. It's been even just in the past few years that I've really made it a serious daily thing. So I try to do, well, especially this summer, I've been getting it like 30 minutes in every morning. So mornings are best for me. And what does that look like? So what does it look like? I go out there, I have a journal, I keep a journal all the time, and get my Bible. And I've talked about this. If you guys are listening to my videos on Facebook, I've been doing Facebook Live videos Monday through Friday at like 7:45 Eastern every morning. And I've talked about this a little bit. But one of the first things I do is write down all the things that are worrying me, what's on my mind, what I have to do for the day, what I dreamt about, just like anything. It's like a brain dump in the morning. So I do the brain dump in the morning, just tell God everything that's on my mind. And then sometimes there will be verses or, passages that I've been reading that I just feel led to go back to, and I'll, read those again. Sometimes it'll be a word that I do some research on, like look up all the verses that have to do with that word. Sometimes it's a topic. But on a regular basis, if I don't really have anything, that I'm kind of led to, then I have a reading sort of plan that I do from one of my favorite books called Secrets of the Secret Place by Bob Sorge. I highly recommend that book for every single person. But he talks about a plan, and he does a little bit of, he divides the I don't want to get too long, but he divides the Bible up into 4 sections: the Old Testament, Psalms and Proverbs, the Gospels, and then Acts to Revelation. And he bookmarks all of those. And then he, in cycles, decides how many times he wants to read that section a year. And then he figures out how many pages he needs to read of that section to get that read. So that's kind of what I do. I have 4 paper clips and then try to read from all of those. And every single day I read through the proverb for whatever day matches the date. So like today is July 3rd that we're doing it. So I read Proverbs 3. So, and then usually from, some part of that it might lead me down a rabbit trail, or I'll just read and move on. So and then sometimes I'm doing a Bible study of some sort and I'll follow that plan. But anyway, it's kind of random, but kind of not. But it's one of the most important things I do. It's the biggest priority that I have is to do that every day.
So, how about a couple of surprise questions?
Uh-oh.
You ready?
I'm ready. What are you going to ask me?
How hard was it to actually start your podcasting? And did it feed into your fears?
Oh my gosh, yes. It was so hard. So I don't know if anybody knows the history behind this, but I kind of just felt like, for a couple of weeks, just felt like I should start a podcast. And at the beginning, I had no idea what that meant. And so it was really just a lot of praying and figuring out, was it supposed to be a podcast for my family? Was it supposed to be just me? What was I supposed to talk about? I had no idea. And then kind of as, as I prayed about it, it became clear that I was supposed to, we had our whole story of our adoption and the feathers and, God really showing himself through that. And just, it was really clear that I was supposed to talk to other women who had, stories of faith and, when they had really trusted God and take this leap of faith. But I was so not convinced I was the right person. I didn't think that I had the right words. I didn't think I had the right personality. I didn't think I had the right resources. I just thought everybody else was so fluid and so well-spoken. I didn't anybody would listen. I mean, I had a whole list of things that I was scared of and reasons why I shouldn't do it. And so, yeah, it played into my fears. I was fearful even up to the day that we launched and scared to death to do it. One of the big things was If Gathering 2 years ago was a huge confirmation that I needed to, I think Chris Kane actually talked about it. Let's put my foot in the Jordan, or, just go forward and let God take care of it. And he totally has. Totally. It's been such a huge surprise that we're still here 2 years later doing this, 100 episodes almost. So, yeah.
Well, that's my next question. Did you ever think you would reach 100? No.
I honestly can say I didn't think I would ever reach 100 episodes. I felt like I wanted to, but I was just so doubtful. We did the first 16 episodes that first season, and I wasn't even sure. We kind of took a break. It ended in June, and I felt like led to take a break, and I wasn't even sure that we were going to come back after those 16 episodes, and kind of just waiting on God to tell us what to do. And I thought maybe it was 16 episodes and we're done and move on, and that was going to be it. And that's really how our season started, is that I really felt like I was supposed to come back, but it was supposed to be starting these seasons. So then I was like, oh, we're going to come back now. We'll call this a break between seasons, and we'll start with season 2. So that's really how the seasons were a surprise. But had no idea we would reach this, no idea that we would be having a live podcast event. I mean, this is a total shock.
Total.
Yeah. Any more for me?
Not that I can think of, except, let me think. Did you ever feel like quitting?
Oh my gosh, when you just said that, it kind of almost brought tears to my eyes. There's been so many, it's been really hard, guys. I mean, it's been hard. I do stay busy, so it's not a joke that, I've made it a priority and I want to do it, but there's been so many times I've just been so tired and I've just run out of guests, or, having to record sometimes late at night when my brain is not working really well. And, sometimes I've had to, like now we have our kids in their rooms and we're like, be quiet, don't say anything. And then I question, like, is this really what I should be doing? I feel like sometimes I'm putting this above family time. And then, I've wanted to walk away and say it's just not worth it. But I continue to feel led to do this and love seeing the fruit and the feedback from people and just think it's right now, God keeps saying go. So I keep going and it's hard. And it's a sacrifice, but it's also such a joy. I mean, I'll have to spend a whole nother episode talking about that, but it has been the biggest encouragement and joy for me personally.
But it's been worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, that's all the questions I have.
Okay. I'm usually the question asker, right?
Well, I didn't know I was going to do this till a little bit ago.
That's not true. I told you about it before, didn't I? Okay, well, I had it in my head for like a week that you were going to do this.
Oh. I think I might have heard yesterday. No, earlier today.
Okay. Well, sorry. Maybe I should. But
can I say, I just love that you do this. I've seen you grow tremendously, and it brings a lot of joy to me to see you do this. I'm proud of you.
Oh, thanks, babe. Thanks for doing this. Ask me questions.
Anytime.
I'm not used to you asking me questions. It's always me asking you a bunch of questions.
Yeah, she is a questionnaire person. She is like, the more questions, the better. Which
surprises me because I didn't even think about when I was thinking about doing this podcast, interviewing people. I kept thinking like, what in the world am I going to say to people? I don't know how to talk to people. But then after I'd gotten into it, I realized, oh my gosh, I do love asking questions. So it's kind of natural.
She does love asking questions.
I do. So I didn't even realize it at the time, but it actually does kind of play into some of the things that come naturally to me.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, babe. I'll let you go to sleep now.
Everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys, for checking that out. We are going to have more Q&A at our live event. I'm going to do another episode with just me next week talking about some more of these questions that we got kind of in depth. And I just want to say I do appreciate so much that you guys are listening, and I am just celebrating so much actually getting to 100 episodes. So this is episode 98. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you back next week on Feathers.